Want to know why a mechanic's car hits 300,000 miles while yours barely limps to 150K? Because at $100,000 min, we quietly do things you'll never see on a repair invoice. Over 70% of major breakdowns happen after this mark. I'm exposing what every mechanic does at 100,000 miles, but never tells you. And at the very end, a bonus trick mechanics use to outlast everyone else. Let's go. Secret number 13, cabin air filter replacement. I know, at $100,000 we shouldn't be talking about an air filter. But if that's true, then why do so many cars at 100,000 smell like a gym locker when you crank the AC? That little cabin filter is your car's lungs, and most drivers forget it even exists until the stench shows up. The manual says replace it every 10,000 to 15,000 m. Me, I tell people do it with every oil change every $3,000 meter. Why? Because it doesn't just keep the air clean for your nose, it protects the blower motor, the evaporator, even the whole AC system. I've seen filters so clogged they look like a mouse nest. When that happens, the blower works overtime, overheats, and suddenly you're shelling out hundreds of dollars when a $10 filter could have saved you. Now, if you've been religious about changing it with every oil change, you're golden at 100,000. But if you haven't, this is the checkpoint. Pop it out. Shine a light through it. If you can't see daylight, it's already killing airflow. Don't be cheap. Put a new one in. Because the next thing mechanics look at once a car hits $100,000 in METs, that one hits your wallet a whole lot harder if you skip it. Secret number 12. Test the battery and charging system. Batteries don't just die overnight. They get weak, slow, and cranky long before they quit. And most drivers never notice until they're stranded in a parking lot. At 100,000 miles, that battery under your hood is either on its last leg or it's already been replaced once. Now, I don't just look at the age. I load test it. I check the cold cranking amps against what's stamped on the battery label. If it's rated for 600 and it's only pushing 400, time to replace it. I also pop the covers if it's serviceable and check for low electrolyte. Most people don't even know batteries can dry out and corrosion on the terminals. That green crust eats away at charging power. Clean it with baking soda and water. Slap on some dielectric grease and you'll keep the juice flowing. But the real killer, the alternator. I've seen guys throw 3 new batteries in a car and still wonder why it dies. Always test the charging system. You want 13.5 to 14.5 volts with the engine running. Anything less, and that alternator is starving your battery to death. Do this at 100,000 and you'll never get stuck waiting for a jump. Skip it and you're rolling the dice. And trust me, the next secret I'm about to give you makes dead batteries look like pocket change compared to what it'll cost you if you ignore it. Secret number 11. Inspect and replace spark plugs and ignition coils. You'd be shocked how many cars I see crawling into the shop with misfires, shaking like a washing machine. 9 times out of 10, it's the plugs. Mechanics love this job because it's easy money. Labor plus markup on the plugs. That's why they don't tell you it's something you can do yourself. But on their own cars, oh, you better believe they swap them right on time. Now, most modern engines run platinum or iridium plugs. The book says they'll last 120,000 water. I don't push it that far. I change mine at 100,000. Because plugs wear down, the gap gets wider and the coils work harder to fire. That burns out coils, which cost way more than a set of plugs. And for the older cars running copper plugs, those are toast at $30,000 MI, sometimes sooner. Ignore them and you're just pouring raw fuel into the exhaust. Do it at 100,000 and your engine keeps firing clean. Skip it and you'll be limping into the shop with a flashing check engine light. And what comes next on my list? Let's just say when this one snaps, you're stuck on the side of the road with no warning. Secret number 10. Check engine and transmission mounts. You ever feel your car vibrating so hard at a stoplight, it feels like you're sitting on a massage chair? That's worn out engine or transmission mounts. At $100,000 M, rubber mounts are cooked. Heat, oil leaks, and constant torque eat them alive. Most mechanics won't bring this up unless you complain because mounts are labor-heavy jobs, and they know customers don't like the price tag. But on their own cars, they check them religiously. A bad mount makes every shift rougher, stresses the transmission, and can even crack exhaust components when the motor rocks too much. When I check mounts, I pry gently with a bar. If the engine lifts like bread dough, the mount's shot. Hydraulic mounts, I look for leaks seeping out. Transmission mounts get overlooked too. But if they collapse, you'll feel every bump and hear clunks when you hit the gas. Ignore bad mounts and your whole car will rattle itself apart. Fix them and the ride feels tighter, smoother, and safer. And hey, if you're getting value out of these hidden mechanic secrets, make sure to hit that like button. Share this with a friend who's got a shaky car and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the list. Because if you think shaky mounts are bad, wait until you see the next one. It doesn't just shake, it strangles your engine from the inside out if you never touch it. Secret number 9, PCV valve and emissions components. The PCV valve is the most ignored little part under the hood. Half the drivers I talk to don't even know it exists. And here's the kicker. Even some mechanics let it slide until it's causing problems. They won't mention it unless it's already stuck or broken because it's small money for them. This is not something you only deal with at $100,000 NUM. Nope. It's supposed to be inspected about every 20,000 or at least once for every 2 oil change cycles, whichever comes first. And most of the time, I replace it between 30,000 and 50,000 miles. Why? Because when that valve clogs, pressure builds inside your crankcase. That pushes oil into places it doesn't belong. Your intake, your gaskets, even your spark plugs. I've seen engines start guzzling oil, burning it, and failing emissions tests, all because of a $10 valve. When I swap it, I always shake the old one. If it rattles freely, it's still moving. If it's stuck or gummed up with sludge, it's overdue. Same goes for the hoses. Soft, cracked, or collapsed hoses kill the whole system. Neglect this, and you'll be tearing into bigger engine repairs. Stay ahead of it, and your motor breathes easy. But the next item on my list, that's not about breathing. It's about keeping your engine alive when the heat turns deadly. Secret number 8, cooling system overhaul. Engines don't just wear out. Most of them die from heat. I've seen good motors cook to death because owners thought coolant lasts forever. At 100,000 MI, if you haven't touched your cooling system, you're on borrowed time. Now, I'm not just talking about topping off the reservoir. I'm talking a full system overhaul. That means flushing out the old coolant, because after years, it loses its anti-corrosion properties and starts eating away at aluminum parts. Radiators rot from the inside out. Heater cores clog and water pumps fail early. Every manufacturer from Toyota to GM says coolant has a service life, and it's not forever. Here's how I do it step by step. Park on level ground. Let the engine go stone cold. Pop the cap only when cool. Look for crusty stains or leaks. Test the radiator cap with a pressure tester. If it won't hold spec, replace it. Open the drain or pull the lower hose. Catch the old coolant. Crack the block drains if your engine has them. More junk comes out. Fill with distilled water. Run the engine with the heater on. Cool it. Drain. Repeat until it runs clear. Replace the thermostat and gasket. Right temp rating. Torquey the housing to the manual specification. Squeeze every hose. Soft, cracked, or bulged. Replace it. Swap weak clamps. Refill with the OEM spec coolant. 50-50 with distilled or vacuum fill to avoid air. Bleed the system. Open bleeder if equipped. Heater on high. Top off as the level drops. Pressure test the whole system to specification. Check for leaks. Confirm fans kick on. Road test. Let it cool. Recheck the level next day. But what's next on my list? It's not hidden in the engine bay. It's underneath. And when it wears out, it makes your car feel like it's falling apart. Secret number 7, suspension bushings and control arms. If your car feels loose, clunky, or drifts when you hit a bump, odds are the bushings are shot. At 100,000 miles, rubber bushings are dried, cracked, or completely blown out. Most people ignore them because the car still drives. But what they don't see is the suspension chewing itself apart. Bushings keep control arms tight, stop metal-on-metal wear, and hold your alignment steady. When they fail, tires wear uneven, steering gets sloppy, and your ride feels like it's 30 years older. I check every control arm, bushing, sway bar link, and trailing arm. If I see cracks, missing chunks, or grease leaking from filled bushings, it's time. And if the arm itself is bent or rusty, I replace the whole unit. Fixing bushings makes a car ride like new again. Ignore them and you're just letting your suspension rattle to death. But the next check, that one involves stopping, and it's life or death if you miss it. Secret number 6, brake fluid, flush, and caliper check. Brake fluid is one of those things nobody remembers until the pedal goes soft or a caliper seizes. I always recommend flushing it every 2 years or $30,000 mem. No excuses. But let's be real. The majority never follow that rule. Maybe you bought a used car and have no service records. Maybe you just never thought about it. Either way, by 100,000 miles, this is a must change. When I flush brakes, I use a pressure bleeder to push the old waterlogged fluid out. That water sitting inside your system corrodes calipers, master cylinders, even ABS pumps. I pull the caliper pins, clean and grease them because dry pins cause uneven pad wear. And while you're there, check the pads, rotors, and even the hoses. By 100,000, it's not unusual that all of them need replacing, even if they've already been changed once before. Fresh fluid and serviced calipers mean safe, solid stops. Ignore it and you're asking for trouble when you need your brakes most. But the next secret, that's not about stopping. It's about feeding your engine, and if you skip it, your car slowly suffocates. Secret number 5, fuel system cleaning. Engines also choke to death on carbon and gunk. By 100,000 miles, injectors are spraying more like a garden hose than a fine mist. That kills fuel economy and power, and you'll feel hesitation when you hit the gas. Most folks never clean their fuel system because nobody tells them to until the check engine light starts flashing for a misfire. Here's how I handle it. First, I run a quality fuel system cleaner straight into the tank. None of that bargain bin junk. I'm talking brands proven to strip varnish. In fact, I did a whole video breaking down which cleaners are garbage and which ones actually work. Click the link on the screen and watch if you don't want to waste your money. Second, I use a pressurized cleaning kit that feeds cleaner right through the fuel rail that blasts carbon off the injectors and valves. And if it's a direct injection engine, I inspect for intake valve buildup and recommend walnut blasting when it's caked up because cleaners won't touch that mess. Skip it and you'll be burning fuel you're not even using. And the next thing on my list that's not hidden in the tank, it's bolted to the exhaust, and when it fails, it'll drain your wallet fast. Secret number 4, oxygen sensors and exhaust checks. Here's one mechanics rarely mention at 100,000 miles. Oxygen sensors. They're the little detectives sitting in your exhaust, constantly sniffing the gases to tell your ECU how much fuel to inject. Over time, they get lazy, coated with carbon, or just plain wear out. And when they stop reporting accurately, your car runs rich, guzzles fuel, and your catalytic converter takes the beating. Most O2 sensors are designed to last about 100,000 before performance drops off. The scary part, you won't always notice right away. The engine still runs, but it's running dirtier and hotter than it should. That heat cooks your catalytic converter, and replacing one of those can easily set you back $1,000 or more. That's why at the 100K mark, I always check O2 sensor readings with a scan tool. If response times are slow or the signal is flat, I recommend replacement before it snowballs into bigger problems. I also inspect the exhaust system for leaks, cracks, and rust because a small leak upstream can trick sensors into false readings. Stay ahead of this one and you'll protect both your fuel economy and your catalytic converter. Ignore it and you'll be wondering why your gas tank drains faster than your wallet can keep up. Secret number 3, replace timing belt chain and tensioner. Now we're getting into the heavy hitters. Want a highway breakdown? Let this belt go. One snap and you lose it all. Power steering, alternator, AC. On some cars, the water pump too. Overheat, tow truck, big bill. At 100,000, I don't play. I replace the belt, the tensioner, and noisy idlers as a set. Rubber hardens, bearings get rough. That squeal you hear, that's slip. Heat kills belts fast. Here's how I do it. Snap a photo of the belt route or use the underhood diagram. Use a 3/8 in breaker bar on the tensioner. Relieve tension, slip the belt off, spin every pulley by hand. Any grind or wobble, replace it. Check the ribs on the old belt. Cracks, missing chunks, glaze, that's failure starting. Bolt the new tensioner onto the service manual torque. Don't guess. Align the belt on every rib. No one tooth off nonsense. Hand rotate the crank 2 turns. Recheck tracking. Start the engine. Watch for walk. No dressing sprays. Those are Band-Aids that attract dirt. If your water pump rides this belt, check for leaks at the weep hole. Don't ignore spots on the splash shield. And now let's step into the second most overlooked thing at 100,000. The very system that keeps your engine from cooking itself to death. Secret number 2, perform a transmission service. If your engine is the heart of the car, your transmission is the nervous system. It sends power where it needs to go. And by the time you hit $100,000 NEM, this system has been through a lifetime of stress. The problem is most people completely ignore it until it's too late. Transmission fluid isn't just oil. It's hydraulic fluid, coolant, and lubricant all in one. Over time, it breaks down, loses its friction properties, and turns dark with clutch material and debris. At that point, it can no longer protect the gears, clutches, and solenoids inside. That's when you start to feel delayed shifts, slipping, or those harsh bangs when it changes gear. For automatics, I always check fluid level, color, and smell. Bright red and sweet, you're good. Brown and burnt, that's a transmission screaming for help. Manual gearboxes need fresh gear oil too. Worn fluid in a stick shift will grind synchros until every shift feels like stirring gravel. A lot of mechanics won't bring this up because transmission service can be pricey and they'd rather wait until you're in for a rebuild. But here's the mechanic's secret. A fluid change and filter replacement at 100,000 can double the life of your transmission. Ignore it, and you might be calling a tow truck when the gearbox decides to give up. Now, we've gone through almost every hidden service tip that mechanics check at 100,000. But there's one more that stands above them all. The single most critical piece that determines whether your car thrives past $100,000 or dies before its time. Secret number 1, replace differential and transfer case fluid. Here's the service almost nobody talks about. And yet it's the silent killer of cars that make it past 100,000 miles. Your differential and transfer case. These components don't get the spotlight like engines or transmissions, but they're the backbone of your drivetrain. The differential transfers power to your wheels. If you've got AWD or 404, the transfer case splits power front to back. Both are packed with gears, bearings, and clutches that live in a bath of gear oil. That oil takes a pounding, constant heat, shearing, and contamination from tiny metal particles. By 100,000 M, that fluid is usually dark, thick, and way past its prime. If you've ever heard a car whining at highway speeds or felt a 4MR4 shudder when engaging, chances are the owner skipped this service. And here's the kicker. Differentials and transfer cases are often sealed for life in the owner's manual. But as a mechanic, I can tell you lifetime means until it fails. Replacing one of these units costs thousands. Replacing the fluid costs less than a night out. That's why this is my number one secret. A simple drain and refill at $100,000 can add decades of life to your drivetrain. It's one of the most overlooked services, and it's the one that separates cars that limp into the scrapyard from those that keep cruising well past 200,000. So if you want your car to outlive the payment book, remember this. Engines and transmissions get the glory, but differentials and transfer cases carry the load. Take care of them, and they'll quietly take care of you. Crossing 100K is a milestone, but survival depends on what you do next. Even oil changes can kill your engine fast. Click the video below. Stupid oil change mistakes that destroy your engine. These are mistakes many drivers unknowingly make. Crossing 100,000 miles isn't the end of your car. It's the beginning of whether it survives or breaks down. And the truth is, the hidden maintenance secrets most drivers ignore will decide if your car keeps going strong or heads for the scrapyard. Here at Car Fix Free, I don't hold anything back. Every week you'll get real mechanic secrets, costly mistakes to avoid, and proven ways to save thousands on repairs. If you want your car to push past 200,000, even 300,000 miles, hit subscribe right now and turn on the bell so you never miss what's next. Trust me, the upcoming videos are the difference between a car that stays loyal for years and a repair bill that empties your wallet. This is Car Fix Free, where mechanic knowledge becomes your power to drive smarter and save money.